It's easy to take a reactive approach to treating a pest issue, but what if there was a way to deal with pest infestations that saves time, effort, and money, while reducing the use of potentially harmful chemicals in your environment? Integrated pest management is exactly that. IPM is a system of tools and strategies designed to promote the least toxic and most effective methods to control pests. The application of IPM varies based on your specific environment and what pests you're dealing with, but generally speaking, the goal is to use pesticides only as a last resort. Instead, IPM leans on strategic methods of prevention, modification of cultural practices, physical or mechanical manipulation, and biological control to create a more holistic, preemptive approach to addressing pests. There are 5 tenets of IPM that can be useful as you work your way through the process. Identify your pest species and learn its biology and ecology. Set action threshold levels, also known as the economic injury level, for when intervention with IPM methods are necessary. Monitor your pest population using traps and scouting. Decide which IPM tactic or multiple tactics should be used and make your treatments. And finally, evaluate your results for effective future treatments. Putting IPM in action starts with some research, beginning with an evaluation of the environment where the pests are found. Are there areas of your yard with poor drainage? Is there adequate ventilation in your bathroom? What are the native plants and insects in your area? A better understanding of your environment sets you up to be more strategic in your approach and potentially prevent pest issues before they even start. Planting trees and shrubs in ideal locations for them to thrive can reduce susceptibility to fungal infections. Blocking holes in your home's exterior will deny rodents entry, and keeping food in tightly sealed containers can eliminate attractive snacks for ants and mice. Or, let's say for instance you have an aphid infestation in your garden. Eliminating their natural predators such as ladybugs or spiders could compound your problem. So if those predators aren't a risk to your health or property, you can consider them a part of the solution. Taking preventative measures by looking for opportunities in your environment means spending less money and using less pesticides. Modification of cultural practices simply means establishing routines that inhibit the spread or growth of pests. Maintenance of equipment and facilities can deprive bacteria of the moisture it needs to thrive. Rotating crops can reduce weeds, diseases, and nematodes. Removing trash eliminates a potential food source for animals, and regularly cleaning surfaces reduces the spread of viruses, bacteria, and disease. Pest issues can also be addressed by physical or mechanical means. Instead of repeatedly treating a mold issue, you could add a fan or a dehumidifier to the area. Traps can be used to kill pests or humanely contain them so that they can be moved to a different area. Physically moving or pulling weeds or adding barriers to your garden are also effective. Biological measures involve activating a pest's natural enemies. This can be done through habitat manipulation, like planting vegetation that adversaries enjoy. Installing things like bat houses and bird feeders entice insect-consuming animals. In some cases, competitive species can even be actively introduced to an environment, but this should always be done with caution, under the guidance of wildlife experts and in full observance of the law. As you put IPM methods into practice, it's important to evaluate the success of your strategies with regular monitoring. For farms or other larger institutions, this process can be streamlined by creating a logbook. But if it's a small, localized issue, it could be as simple as visual observation. The most important thing is regular examination, so problems can be addressed before they increase in severity. Let's see IPM in action. Say you're growing tomatoes in your garden. One day you notice large green caterpillars eating your tomatoes. Your first instinct might be to use a chemical to kill them. But if we use IPM, we may be able to take care of these caterpillars in a cheaper, simpler way. The first step is to identify our pest. By using local resources like online websites, calling our local extension, or checking pest ID books, we can use clues like what the caterpillar looks like combined with what it's feeding on to ID our pest. In this case, it's a tomato hornworm. Now that we've identified our pest, we can use mechanical, cultural, and biological control before trying chemical control to save our tomato plants. Mechanical control methods include picking all of the caterpillars we see off the tomato plants, even creating barriers once they've been picked to prevent them from crawling back onto our plants. Cultural control methods include rotating plants from year to year. Planting corn the next year may reduce the amount of tomato hornworms you see in the future. Planting undesirable plants like garlic around your tomatoes can also help reduce the amount of hornworms you see. You can also use new soil or sterilize your previously used soil to prevent pupa from surviving. Biological control methods include adding flowers to the perimeter of your garden to entice predators like beetles and stink bugs, or parasitoids that will snack on the hornworms. Reduce using pesticides that might impact these natural enemies. If we still need pesticides after trying all the alternative methods, try using the lowest risk pesticides first. In the case of our hornworms, this could be a lower risk biological pesticide that incorporates the bacteria or fungi which only attack certain insects like caterpillars. From there, we can assess if a different active ingredient might work better for us. Always be sure to monitor the pest populations, adjust your methods, and evaluate the efficacy of any pesticides you use. Always read the label no matter what pesticides you plan to use for directions on use, personal protection, and what plants or pests it can be used on. If, in conjunction with other IPM methods, pesticides are still necessary, find one specific to the pest you wish to control or one that is low risk. Broad-spectrum pesticides are potentially toxic compounds that can inflict collateral damage on other parts of the ecosystem. Ideally, by following the process of IPM, you'll find the quantities of pesticide needed have been greatly reduced, leaving your environment a cleaner, more natural place. For more information on pest-specific IPM strategies, contact the BPC or visit the following websites.